Dogs do not forgive the way humans do. They do not replay moments or keep emotional score. What remains is simpler and more permanent: how safe the body felt in specific situations. When something feels confusing, unpredictable, or overwhelming, a dog does not become angry. The nervous system adjusts, distance changes, energy shifts, expression becomes more guarded. Forgiveness is not the right word because nothing is processed as moral failure. Everything is stored as a safety pattern. This video is not about blame or fear. It is about awareness. If understanding your dog beyond surface behavior matters, consider subscribing. Once a pattern settles into the body, dogs do not argue with it. They adapt around it, and the earliest shifts often begin in small, quiet moments that change how safe the environment feels. Moment 1. Inconsistent rules. When a behavior is allowed one day and corrected the next. A dog does not experience flexibility. The body experiences instability. Dogs rely on predictable patterns to relax their nervous system. When rules shift without warning, the brain stays alert instead of settling into expectation. This is not testing limits or pushing boundaries. It is pattern learning. The nervous system tracks what leads to safety and what does not. When those signals keep changing, ease is replaced by readiness. That readiness does not turn off when the moment ends. It carries forward, shaping how the dog approaches future situations. Over time, uncertainty becomes the background state. The environment no longer feels reliable, so the body prepares rather than relaxes. Behavior may still look cooperative, but the internal experience has changed. Confidence fades quietly. Calm becomes harder to reach. Consistency is what allows the nervous system to soften. Without it, the dog adapts by staying prepared instead of comfortable. Moment 2. Sudden tone shifts. Dogs process emotional tone before they process words. A voice that moves from calm to sharp without warning does not clarify behavior. It creates anticipation. The nervous system stops listening for instruction and starts watching for emotional change. This is where tension forms, not in the correction itself, but in the sudden contrast. When tone shifts unpredictably, engagement gives way to caution. The body slows, responses become smaller and more careful. Attention turns inward, scanning for signs that another shift is coming. Over time, this pattern reshapes interaction. The dog becomes hesitant rather than responsive, not because they are disobedient, but because vigilance feels safer than participation. Cooperation fades quietly as the nervous system prioritizes self-protection over connection. Calm communication keeps the body oriented toward learning. Unpredictable tone teaches the body to brace instead of respond. Moment 3. Forced physical affection. Affection feels safe to dogs when it is chosen, not imposed. Choice determines whether the body relaxes or prepares to endure. When holding, hugging, or restraining happens without invitation, the nervous system does not settle. It tolerates. Muscles stay slightly tight, even if the dog appears calm. This outward stillness can be misleading. Dogs soften when they approach freely and stiffen when closeness is controlled for them. Over time, forced affection teaches a quiet lesson. Closeness becomes something that must be endured rather than enjoyed. Initiation begins to fade, not because attachment has weakened, but because safety feels conditional. The body learns that connection may come with restraint. When that happens, dogs stop offering closeness on their own. True comfort grows when physical contact remains optional, predictable, and responsive. When choice is respected, the nervous system relaxes and affection returns naturally instead of being withdrawn. Moment 4. Startling during rest sleep is the one time a dog's nervous system fully powers down. When rest is interrupted by sudden touch, lifting, or loud calling, the body is pulled abruptly back into alertness. One startle does not cause lasting harm. Repetition does. Each unexpected interruption teaches the nervous system that rest is not completely safe. Over time, sleep becomes lighter. Waking happens more quickly. The body remains partially prepared, even while lying down. This constant readiness is subtle, but it accumulates. True relaxation becomes harder to access, not because the dog is anxious, but because the nervous system has learned it cannot fully switch off. What looks like a dog who sleeps often may actually be a body that never rests deeply. Calm is not measured by stillness alone. It depends on whether the body feels secure enough to release tension completely. When rest is protected and predictable, the nervous system learns it is safe to soften again. Moment 5. Emotional withdrawal after affection. When a dog approaches for closeness and is repeatedly pushed away, this is not understood as correction. It is taken in as information. The nervous system learns when connection is welcome and when it is not. Over time, initiating affection begins to feel uncertain. Rather than risk rejection, the body adjusts by conserving energy. This change is quiet. There is no protest or visible disappointment. Instead, the dog approaches less often and waits longer before seeking contact. This is not emotional distance in the human sense. It is adaptation. Connection is offered only in moments that feel predictable. Other opportunities are quietly passed over. The dog is not upset. The nervous system is being efficient, choosing regulation over risk. When closeness is consistently met with calm, receptive response, this pattern softens on its own. Affection returns naturally, not because the dog needed reassurance, but because safety around connection has been restored. Moment 6. Unpredictable handling. Handling that happens without warning changes how a dog experiences its own body. Sudden collar pulls, unexpected paw lifting, or being moved without preparation remove the ability to anticipate what is coming next. When the nervous system cannot predict contact, resistance often fades and freezing takes its place. Freeze can look like calm cooperation, but it is protective rather than relaxed. Muscles hold, movement becomes minimal. Over time, this pattern reshapes behavior. Stillness begins to replace trust. Compliance replaces comfort. The dog appears well-behaved, quiet, and easy to manage, yet the body is working to stay safe by limiting motion. This kind of control is not confidence. It is self-protection. When handling becomes predictable, signaled, and optional whenever possible, the nervous system softens. Trust returns not through restraint, but through the ability to anticipate and choose what happens next. Moment 7. Delayed correction. Dogs do not connect emotion to something that happened earlier. They connect it to what is happening now. When correction arrives late, the behavior itself is no longer part of the learning process. The emotional tone becomes the signal. Instead of understanding what went wrong, the nervous system focuses on the shift in mood. Meaning is searched for, but nothing specific is found. That uncertainty stays in the body. Delayed correction does not teach restraint or awareness. It teaches confusion. Over time, this slows learning rather than improving it. The dog becomes cautious, not because rules are unclear, but because feedback no longer matches action. Clear learning happens when response and behavior align in the same moment. When timing is consistent, the nervous system can relax into understanding. When timing is delayed, the body stays alert, trying to make sense of emotional changes instead of absorbing instruction. Moment 8. Punishing stress signals. Growling, pacing, or avoiding eye contact are signals, not disobedience. When these signals are punished, calm does not follow. Silence does. Stress remains stored without release. The behavior disappears, but pressure stays inside. Suppression can look like improvement, yet unresolved stress often resurfaces later in less predictable ways. Moment 9. Mixed commands. Words like stay, wait, and stop sound similar to humans, but register as separate cues to dogs. When one behavior has multiple signals, confidence gives way to guessing. Guessing consumes mental energy. Over time, hesitation replaces responsiveness. This is not stubbornness. It is uncertainty appearing in real time. Clear language creates stability. Mixed cues create delay. If understanding your dog on a deeper level matters, consider subscribing. Moment 10. Inconsistent reinforcement. When behavior is sometimes rewarded and sometimes ignored, learning never stabilizes. Feedback drives engagement. Without consistent response, the brain stops investing effort. The behavior is not forgotten. It is withheld. This is not defiance. It is efficiency. When outcomes feel unpredictable, participation feels unnecessary. Moment 11. Removing comfort objects. Beds, toys, or resting places provide predictability. Removing them without warning changes how security is experienced. The nervous system tightens around resources. Holding on feels safer than relaxing. This is how guarding begins, gradually and quietly, driven by instability rather than aggression. Security allows release, uncertainty teaches control. Moment 12. Overexposing to stimulation. Busy environments can overwhelm when exposure moves faster than comfort. Excitement and stress may look similar externally, but the body distinguishes them. When processing stops, endurance begins. Subtle signs appear first: faster breathing, scanning eyes, stiff posture. Ignored tolerance becomes overload. Overload teaches avoidance, not confidence. Moment 13. Withdrawing instead of seeking. When a dog approaches less often. This is not rejection. It is adjustment. Initiating contact requires effort without certainty. Sometimes closeness is welcomed, sometimes not. Rather than risk inconsistency, energy is conserved. Distance increases quietly. Hesitation appears. This is self-regulation, not emotional withdrawal. It is subtle, gradual, and often missed until closeness feels different. Moment 14. Hypercompliance. Some dogs respond to uncertainty by becoming extremely compliant. Commands are followed precisely. Expression narrows. This can look like excellent training, but hypercompliance is a coping strategy. Predictability feels safer than curiosity. Initiative fades. Playfulness diminishes. Confidence is not rigid or perfect. It is relaxed, expressive, and free to choose. Moment 15. Loss of play initiation. Play is one of the clearest signals that a dog feels safe enough to be spontaneous. It requires looseness in the body, confidence in the environment, and trust that expression will be met without consequence. When that sense of safety weakens, play is often the first behavior to change. The dog may still respond when play is invited, but the initiative disappears. This shift is subtle but meaningful. It reflects a nervous system that has reassessed its priorities. Instead of exploring, expressing, or initiating, energy is redirected toward caution. The body waits rather than acts. Play does not fade because interest is gone. It fades because spontaneity no longer feels predictable. Encouragement or pressure does not bring it back. Neither does excessive stimulation. Play returns only when the environment consistently feels safe enough for the nervous system to relax its guard. When safety is restored, play reappears naturally. Movement becomes looser. Invitations emerge without prompting. The dog does not need to be taught how to play again. The body remembers as soon as expression feels welcome and unthreatening. Moment 16. Avoiding proximity is rarely dramatic. There is no sudden withdrawal or visible tension. Instead, distance increases quietly. A dog chooses a spot a little farther away. They lie just outside arm's reach. They move to another room without urgency. This is not rejection or punishment. It is regulation. When closeness has felt unpredictable, space helps the nervous system stay balanced. Distance creates room to breathe, both physically and emotionally. By controlling proximity, the body reduces the chance of sudden changes in tone, touch, or expectation. Over time, closeness stops being automatic and becomes intentional. The dog still values connection, but only under conditions that feel steady. This shift is easy to miss because behavior remains calm and cooperative. But something important has changed. Shared space is no longer assumed. It is chosen carefully. When safety becomes consistent again, distance is no longer needed for regulation. The body softens. Proximity increases naturally. The dog moves closer without being called, not because trust was rebuilt through effort, but because the environment once again feels predictable enough to relax into closeness. Moment 17. Choosing stillness over expression. Stillness is often misunderstood as calm, but a quiet dog is not always a relaxed dog. In some cases, the body has learned that doing nothing feels safer than engaging. When movement, eye contact, or expression has led to unpredictability in the past, the nervous system adapts by reducing output. Muscles stay slightly tense. Breathing becomes shallow rather than deep. Energy remains contained instead of flowing freely. From the outside, this can look like excellent behavior. A dog who lies quietly, does not demand attention, and rarely reacts. But this kind of stillness is not ease. It is management. The body is minimizing risk by limiting expression. True calm looks different. It includes small shifts in position, relaxed breathing, spontaneous movement, and the freedom to initiate interaction without hesitation. When expression feels consistently welcome and predictable, the nervous system no longer needs to conserve energy through stillness. Movement returns naturally. Engagement increases on its own. Safety is not created by silence. It is created when the body learns that being expressive does not lead to discomfort or correction. The bottom line, what dogs need instead of forgiveness. Dogs do not hold grudges or track right and wrong. They adapt. Safety patterns shape closeness, energy, and expression. Forgiveness is not what dogs need. Consistency is. Predictable tone, clear signals, space to rest, choice and connection. When those patterns return, softening happens quickly, not because memory is erased, but because safety has been restored. If this helped you see your dog differently, consider subscribing. Trust grows when being oneself feels safe, and that is where connection quietly returns.